Hello everyone, welcome to Conversations with Sakina. Today we are going to look into a cryptid case from a story that I heard from the website What Lurks Beneath with the video Park Ranger Reveals Terrifying Secret Within Yosemite National Park. So that's where we are today, Yosemite National Park in 2011. A park ranger by the name of Stephen, who must have had the night shift because he was patrolling around 11:10 p.m. on Northside Drive. And while he was driving, he noticed a person or a figure in the field off to his right, so he pulled over in case the person needed help. When the figure stood up, the park ranger, Stephen, noticed that he had no definition whatsoever, and he was about 30 yards away. He looked more like a black shadow in the shape of a human. The only light that Stephen had was the light of the moon, so he squinted to see if he could see this person, this figure, a little bit better. And while he was looking, the figure actually levitated and began gliding toward him. Stephen was hanging on to the steering wheel. He hadn't gotten out of his vehicle, but he was hanging on to the steering wheel super tight, knuckles turning white, as he watched this figure gliding his way. And when it hit about the 25-foot mark from him, it just dissipated into nothing. Stephen put his vehicle in gear and headed back to the ranger station to get a cup of coffee. This was kind of his way, apparently, of dealing with what he thought he had just witnessed. Well, the next morning, there were some hikers and some tourists that asked Stephen about this mysterious black figure because it was scaring people. One of these people was an older gentleman, and he said that this black figure was trying to look in the camper windows and was rattling the doorknob all night, but they couldn't see anything when they looked out the windows except for something that looked kind of like a shadow. Another one of these people was a woman who had stayed up late roasting marshmallows with her 3 children. And it was one of her children that showed her this presence over by the tree line. And this presence, this shadowy figure, just stood by the tree line watching them. And she did see on this figure red glowing eyes, which no one else actually mentioned. But she got the boys and herself in the tent and pulled out a firearm. She was prepared, apparently, to defend her family if she needed to. Nothing ever came of it. Morning came and they were fine. But the park ranger realized that these sightings that these other people have were about an hour or two before his own sighting, and it was all in the same general area. So what we want to look into today is whether or not this being, this creature, was real, and we're going to do it from the perspective of the park ranger, Stephen, since he was the one who seemed to get more of the levitation, and I don't want to say he saw it better than anybody else, but I think he saw it because it was in a different setting. He wasn't in a camper, he was in his truck, but he could see all the way around him, whereas the other ones didn't have quite that good of a view. So the first thing that we are going to look at is Stephen himself and let's see what the cards have to say about what he was doing at the time of the sighting. We know from the story, but this is just kind of to see what the cards have to share. So we have the Explorer of Pentacles, 7 of Wands, Ace of Cups, 7 of Pentacles, and the 6 of Pentacles. Okay, so the Explorer of Pentacles is the Queen of Pentacles. So I feel like with the Explorer of Pentacles, when we're looking at Stephen, is that he actually seemed to enjoy going out on these nightly excursions. It kind of relaxed him and just he liked the drive. He liked the smell of the night air. He liked the sounds of the night air. He just really enjoyed going out and doing this part of his job. It was very relaxing for him. And apparently, with the Seven of Wands, he was a rare person when it came to the nighttime part of things. Nobody else seemed to really want that shift for whatever reason. They thought he was a little odd to want the nighttime shift where, you know, anything could happen. The wildlife are out at that time of night, and, you know, if there's a full moon, perhaps some of the crazies that would go camping there. It just was his thing, but nobody else's. Part of what he liked about it with the Ace of Cups was being able to just get in touch with himself. If he had some situations that he needed to deal with, he could think about them as he was driving and doing his nighttime routine check and just allow everything to flow. There was no pressure, no other people talking to him. It was just him and nature, and he really enjoyed that. So on this particular night, it took a lot of staying power, a lot of perseverance to stick it out, to see what he was seeing. Most people would have got the heck out of there right away when they saw this figure or whatever it was start levitating and coming toward them. He didn't. He sat there and held his ground, waiting to see if anything would happen. He had no idea whether this thing was going to hurt him or just fly over top of him, what it was going to do. So he just waited. I think there was still a part of him that didn't believe this wasn't a person. So his job was to give aid if that was what was needed. So of course he waited around. He needed to wait around because he needed to be able to help this person if they needed help. And because of his conditioning or his seriousness in his job as a park ranger, it was necessary for him to stay put. So he did, regardless of what might have taken place. And again, I do believe he was still in denial as to what he was seeing. So let us take a look and see if we can tell where this creature came from. Does it live in the woods? And we'll do a quick shuffle this way. So let's see what we've got here. See if this creature lives in the woods or in Yosemite National Park. So we have the Two of Vessels, or Two of Cups, Two of Stones, or Two of Pentacles, Page of Vessels, or, Page of Cups, the Hermit, and Page of Sticks, or Page of Wands. Okay, so I think what these cards are sharing here, the twos are decision cards. And I think it's saying here that I guess it's up to us to determine whether or not this is a water type creature or whether this is an on land kind of creature, or possibly it's both. We have water, 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 and we have land and land. So the water actually outweighs, and I'm talking about the pictures on the cards, the water actually outweighs the land. So I think this is sharing with us that this creature can decide on its own what it wants to do on any given day. It can maybe go in the water or it can stay on land. And it likes to explore, especially the water. I think when there are people on the water or in the water, I think it really likes to explore because it's very curious, wants to learn about people and their reaction in water. It also likes to see the other creatures that are within the water. They don't react to him the way that humans do. But most of the time, this being, this creature, is one of solitude, kind of stays to itself at a distance, observing such things as people in the cabins. And as the one guy was saying, it was looking in the windows. It's very curious about humans. Obviously, the sightings do bring about the creative side of humans. They have stories to tell, just like this park ranger did, with what he saw, what he experienced, and also the other individuals that spoke to him the following morning. Everybody has their creative story about this creature. So it does live within the woods and sometimes in the water. It did answer that for us. Okay, so what we want to know is, we know that it's curious about people. Is it out to hurt humans? Does it want to do something bad to humans? Or is it just curious? Are humans a part of its diet even, where it would want to eat us? Kind of gross questions, but it's a part of it. So we have Temperance. We have the Queen of Cups. We have the Knight of Cups. We have the Two of Swords. And we have the Four of Wands. I think this creature really likes to have things balanced. They like to have things, no chaos. They want the woods to be the woods, or how the woods are meant to be. Peaceful and with wildlife, and not people, not humans. It's not real fond of having humans in its territory. It knows that humans seem to love the outdoors for whatever reason, so this creature will go out and snoop around these humans because it just feels the need. Maybe it feels as though doing that brings some balance back into the area for it. Not sure on that. And I think it goes out also to kind of scare people, because if they scare someone, or if they scare people, maybe those people will go on their way in kind of a hurry. And at that point, this being feels like it can celebrate, feels like it can breathe again and be who it is meant to be in its own home. So I'm kind of getting from this, in an offbeat kind of way, this is this creature's home. The outdoors, the Yosemite National Forest, maybe this specific area where the sighting was seen, where the sightings took place. And I feel like this creature is like, well, if you're going to invade my home, I'm going to invade your home, which would be, in this case, the campers. Being able to look into the windows of the campers and wiggle the doorknobs. And because when people go camping, what do? They hike through the forest. They pick up stones. They throw stones in the water. They sometimes leave garbage. They aren't always respectful of the place that they're staying. And then there's some that are. However, this creature, this shadow creature, really does not like the invasion of the people, and does celebrate when he is able to scare people away. So one more time, we're going to say, is there any violence? Would this creature hurt any human? So we have the Six of Wands, the Ten of Swords, the Queen of Pentacles, the World, and the Ace of Cups. So my understanding from these cards with the Six of Wands is this creature has its limits, its boundaries. So I don't believe that hurting humans in any way is a part of, they will not go over that boundary. They will not go do any violence to a human, despite their appearance. Part of the reason why is because, since they are solitary individuals, solitary creatures, they kind of enjoy watching humans. As long as the humans aren't doing anything to hurt the forest, to hurt their home, they enjoy watching. It gives them something to do, something different, because they're really not very worldly. And the feelings that they can get from watching humans, the feelings that they can get, what they can get out of watching humans, is anybody's imagination. So in other words, they really enjoy doing that. So no, they will not hurt the human. Again, they will play games to try and make humans go away, ones that they really felt like they didn't care to have in their territory. For sure, they will do that, but they will not do violence to a human. They have their boundaries. So are these creatures able to go anywhere else? We know that they can levitate. Do they have the power to go somewhere else? Are they from like a different dimension? Or do they have the power to leave this place? The Yosemite National Park. Can they go other places? So we have the Four of Pentacles, Seven of Wands, Ten of Pentacles, Nine of Pentacles, and the Seven of Cups. It almost feels like this creature is somehow a creature of the earth, and they feel very comfortable in the place that they are, which is why they're so protective of Yosemite National Park. Now, this doesn't mean that they're not in other national parks or other places. However, this particular one that we're asking about that's in Yosemite National Park, it likes it there, so it stays there. Part of the reason that this creature likes it there is because it knows where the higher ground is. If it's threatened in any way, it knows where to go to defend itself. That's just basic fact. There's nothing surprising, nothing new in this particular area that it can't handle. And anything and everything it needs is right there in that park. It has everything that it needs, and it's quite happy with its physical existence in this way. And with the Seven of Cups, it's just saying that this being can leave the earth plane, leave the earth, the levitation portion of things, anytime it wants to, if it needs to. Again, it can take higher ground at any point, and that's why it stays where it stays. I think sometimes it does regret not having a companion, but for the most part, it's very happy with its existence where it's at. So let's find out if this creature is always in shadow form. Is that its normal state? So we have the Sun. We have the Six of Pentacles. We have the Five of Pentacles, Nine of Cups, and the Eight of Cups. I believe this creature is saying this is its happy state. It is what makes it feel the most comfortable being in this shadow state, because it can do things to people or creatures. It can feed creatures. It can scare humans. It can help humans. It can do a lot of things in the state that it's in as a shadow without bringing too much attention to itself, because it knows that if it's ever caught, things would not go well for it. Humans just aren't very tolerant of something different and something that scares them. So, vengeance is usually the thing. So if it remains in shadow form, it's not as apt to be caught by anybody. And I think, its wish was to stay in shadow form in that way. Maybe it wasn't always like that. I think it's something that it had to practice, work on internally to manifest being a shadow form altogether. And now it's pretty much mastered it. That's the form it continues to take. And that's what people see in the light of the moon. And we have the moon on both sides here. It's a shadow figure. That is what it has chosen to be. There are pros and cons to it, obviously, is what it's saying. As a last question here, we know that this creature enjoys its solitude and enjoys the area that it lives in currently. Does it have any other family or any other relative or friend or anything like that lives in another area of the park or in other national parks? We have the Seven of Swords. We have the Queen of Swords. We have the Three of Wands. We have Temperance. And we have the King of Wands. I think what this creature is saying is that there are actually many of them. And most of them, it looks like, are in the same form as we see from these mountain goats. They're in the same form. So when people see them, they're not always sure of what they see. And the creature is saying this is the truth of it. People prefer not to see. So for each and every one of these shadow beings, shadow creatures, their plan, what all of them wish for, it's kind of ingrained into them, apparently. Maybe they're born that way, is to make sure that the parks and the mountains, the places that humans go to explore, that they stay balanced. And we covered that down here too, where they stay balanced, where the energy of the place is never soiled. Maybe that's a better way to put it. And it looks as though they have the power to transform themselves, the environment, to get whatever result they wish to get to keep things in a balanced form like this. So in essence, they look like they would be very scary, dark creatures, but in truth, they just are curious. They enjoy humans as long as the humans are respectful to keeping these living places in balance. Otherwise, these beings really like to be solitary. Maybe they come together every once in a while, but I don't think that's very often. Just come together to communicate, and they very well may communicate telepathically with one another also. So they can be in all different places. I mean, these mountain goats seem to be on the same mountain, but I'm taking it as they are kind of all over the place. And I think that there is a way that they communicate telepathically with one another when they want to. It's not necessary all the time. There is one more thing I really want to ask here. Do these creatures come from another dimension? Did they come to Earth from another dimension or somewhere else, from somewhere else that we are unfamiliar with? We have the Eight of Swords, Strength, Knight of Swords, the Empress, and the Five of Cups. I think what they're saying here with the Eight of Blades is that it actually took a lot of work and a lot of strength to explore other places. It was dangerous for them to explore other places because not all other places are friendly for exploration. However, they did find Earth. They found these beautiful national parks, these beautiful mountains, and wherever they're from, they no longer have to live in total fear. So I don't think that where they came from was a really good place. They're not exactly saying where they came from, but it was necessary for them to put in the work and the strength to take the chance of finding someplace else to live. And Earth just happens to be the place. It just happens to be a world of wonder for them, and they're not at the bottom of the food chain anymore, so to speak. They don't have to be worried about the snake eating the robin's eggs. And that's just a metaphor there for danger. So yeah, they came from someplace else, but they're not really sharing where they came from. I'm going to venture a guess here, though. In looking at these cards, we have swords with the blades, which is air, and we have strength, which is fire. We have the Empress, which is earth, and we have cups, which is water. So we have all four elements. And usually for me, that means it's a spiritual type thing. So I'm thinking that they came from another dimension, what we might consider a spiritual journey. So that is what we have for this tarot investigation of this cryptid creature from Yosemite National Park. If you've seen anything else in the cards, or you have anything you'd like to share about this reading, please share it in the comments below. I would love to see your take on things. So I think that's it. So until next time, take care.